let's talk control. A couple of videos, I talked a little bit about the 3 different types of deck in card games in general. You have aggressive decks, mid-range decks, and control decks. Control decks are by far the decks that I play the most, so I'm excited to share this one with you today. Okay, so the deck that we are going to be covering today is Steel and Amethyst Control. Although I should just say it's Amethyst and Steel Control because it's far more Amethyst than Steel. And there's a reason for that. In general, Amethyst allows you to dig for and find cards of the correct type and value to use in many situations that you'll face when in gameplay. But in the meantime, let's talk about the cards that we have in this deck. First, we have Captain Hook at the 1-drop slot. Oftentimes, Captain Hook is just going to be an ink target, but when you face aggressive decks, there is not a better character on board, in my opinion, than Captain Hook, because when you challenge with Captain Hook, which is all that he should be doing, really, you're able to buff his attack to 3 and take out most early game threats. At the 2-drop slot, you have Magic Broom. I'm obsessed with Magic Broom. I love the idea of recurrence, the ability to find any card in your banished or discard pile and put it back in your deck and shuffle. Sometimes all you really need is a deck shuffle to help move the cards around and get you back on the right draws. Magic Broom lets you do that, especially when it's paired with Mickey Mouse Wayward Sorcerer down the road. Next, we have 4 of Elsa Snow Queen. Again, I think Elsa Snow Queen is a solid ink use, but also a really good target at a 3-drop. 2/3, 2 power, 3 defense. The freeze ability is really where she shines. If you want to try to force one of your opponent's characters into a trade that is more favorable for you than them, that freeze ability is really impactful. Next up is Maleficent Sorceress. This is just a solid card. I don't know of a better card that is more solid at the 3-drop slot that is also a common card. 3 ink that can also be inked, 2 power, 2 defense, and when it comes into play, you can draw a card. Just a really solid character. Next up, Tinkerbell Tiny Tactician. Tinkerbell in this deck is good to cycle. When I use the word cycle, what I mean is you draw a card, then discard a card. That is cycling through your deck. It allows you to dig through your deck to find cards you want and get rid of cards you might not want in your hand. It's also just a good 3-drop, 2 attack, 4 defense. It's a solid wall if you need to use this card that way. And it allows you to perhaps shift into Giant Tinkerbell down the road if you so wish. At the 4-drop slot, we have Jafar, Keeper of Secrets. I tend to struggle with this card. I don't know of a better 4-drop currently in Amethyst or in Steel that I would like to use and replace this card. It has the potential to be very good, but what I think I like most about Jafar is he's a wall when he comes into play with 5 defense. He can have higher attack pending how many cards are in your hand, which you should always have at least 1 or 2. And then if you don't have any use for him, he can be inked, or if you just want to quest with Jafar, you can, and he quests for 2. I think it's just a solid card. I'm not overly enthused by it, but I do enjoy it when it comes into play and when I'm able to find use with it. Otherwise, it's just a solid ink target for me. 2 of Mickey Mouse Wayward Sorcerer. Now, as much as I love the combo of Mickey Mouse Wayward Sorcerer and Magic Brooms, that's not the primary focus of this deck. I think it's a nice to have combo that might go off down the road, and if it happens, great. But I don't want to make that the sole purpose or sole engine of this deck. Mickey Mouse Wayward Sorcerer and his Animate Broom ability and his Ceaseless Worker abilities are solid, especially when you have Magic Broom in hand or Magic Broom on the field. It gives you a ton of favorable trades, a ton of recurrence, and it is a must deal with. Next up, at the 5-drop slot, we have the Queen, Wicked and Vain. I am growing to love this card more and more. I don't know if there's a world where I want 4 of them in my deck at any given time, but I might come to regret those words. But the ability for her to exert herself and then draw a card at any given time is great. And also the fact that she has 4 attack and 5 defense means that not many opposing characters or not many opposing players want to challenge the Queen, Wicked and Vain when they are exerted. I think it's a solid card. And if you don't have a need for card draw at any point in time, or you're strapped for ink, she can be inked as well. Solid card. Now, the next drop here is the Beast Hard-Headed. There is one reason the Beast Hard-Headed exists in this deck, and that is to take care of opposing control players and their Ursula's Cauldrons, their Shield of Virtues, and other magic mirrors, or White Rabbit's Pocket Watch. All of those are issues that need to be dealt with. Primarily, though, I would say Shield of Virtue and Ursula's Cauldron are the targets for the Beast Hard-Headed, because when the Beast comes into play, it has the ability Break, which is just when you play this character, banish chosen item. Solid and exists to counter other control players and their items. At the 6-drop slot, perhaps one of the best cards in this deck is Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. If you can shift into Tinkerbell Tiny Tactician, that's incredible, but primarily you want to be dealing 1 damage to every opposing character and creating favorable trades where you challenge with Tinkerbell Giant Fairy into other smaller characters so that you can deal damage across the board to other characters. It's a great way to deal with aggressive decks that go wide, like the Amber and Emerald deck, or even an Emerald and Ruby deck. Very, very helpful against those types of decks. I enjoy Tinkerbell Giant Fairy, and also she can quest for 2. I mean, it's hard to find much fault with that. Next up is Dr. Facilier, Agent Provocateur. Primarily, I enjoy this because it gives us the ability that Mickey Mouse has with Ceaseless Worker, but it gives it to us for all of our characters on board. The ability to return a banished character that has been banished because of a challenge into hand. Incredibly, incredibly beneficial. The 7 ink cost non-inkable card makes me hesitant to put more than 2 in a deck, which is why you'll also see there's only 2 of Ursula Power Hungry down the road. But it also quests for 3 and gives you a threat on board that has to be dealt with. Next is Ursula Power Hungry. You reduce your opponent's lore count by 1 and draw a card. It's also a 2-power 8 defense character, which means that you can quest with impunity, and oftentimes the opposing player has to trade a lot of cards into Ursula during a challenge just to meet that 8 defense, and you get to quest for 3. Very, very solid card. And last but certainly not least, Elsa, Spirit of Winter. There are 3 of her in this deck. Again, it's because it's a high ink cost that cannot be inked. Elsa's incredible in Amethyst. Hands down today, in my opinion, the best card in Amethyst. You freeze 2 of your opposing characters, which means they are exerted and they can't be unexerted the following turn. They can't be readied the following turn by the opposing player. And she also quests for 3 lore, 4 attack, 6 defense. Very, very solid card and can swing a game in your favor, especially when you're playing against opposing control decks or tempo mid-range style decks that will only have 1 to 2 threats out at any given time. Also is a great way to manage those. As far as actions go, we have 2 Befuddle, a 1 cost card that can be inked and returns a character that costs 2 or less to your opponent's hand. This is a frustrating card that I've seen swing early game, especially when you're playing against aggressive decks. It allows you to say, nope, let's get that back into your hand. Let's get that problem character off the field back into your hand in a way that's very ink efficient for me. Or if it's late in the game and you draw a Befuddle and you don't need to use it, it counts as ink. I think it's a solid hybrid style card. Then you have Smash, which is the primary way in which you will be removing individual characters from play for your opponent. It just deals 3 damage to the chosen character and is a great way to reach and sort of deal that extra damage to banish characters in play without having to challenge them with your own characters. For our songs, we have 2, Friends from the Other Side and Grab Your Sword. These are both pretty self-explanatory. Friends from the Other Side, draw 2 cards. Incredibly powerful. You can sing Friends from the Other Side with Tinkerbell, Tiny Tactician, Elsa, Snow Queen, and Maleficent Sorceress, all at the 3-drop slot or anything above the 3-drop slot. But it's nice to know that you have 11 targets right off the bat that you can use to sing Friends from the Other Side for free, and then have 3 ink to do whatever you'd like to on turn 3, for example. Later in the game, I think Friends from the Other Side continues to maintain its high value because the more cards you have in hand, the better opportunity you have to find something that you need to win the game. And then Grab Your Sword, dealing 2 damage to each opposing character. This, much like Be Prepared and Ruby, is a way to punish decks that go wide, but not necessarily as overtly. This card is intended to deal with a lot of low-cost characters that come into play that you'd find in Amber and Emerald. And lastly, our items. 2 Magic Mirror, just a solid ink sink. And what I mean by an ink sink is if I have just spare ink sitting around on my board and it doesn't have anywhere to go, I'd happily pay 4 ink to draw a card. And Ursula's Cauldron, I think one of the best items in Amethyst. I don't know why it is only an uncommon. It's incredible. The ability to consistently see what is coming next on the top of your deck and be able to manipulate your next turn's draws, it cannot be overstated how powerful that is. So I love Ursula's Cauldron. I don't think I'd ever want more than 2. You don't really want 3 or 4 on the board on your side. Since it can't be inked, it doesn't make sense to have more than 2, in my opinion. But that is the deck. This is the first draft of Steel Amethyst Control for me. I think it's solid, but let's take it and playtest it. Wow, we're in a game fast. Okay, cool. We are going second. Let's take a look at the hand. That's a wild hand. Okay, so here's where I struggle with being greedy. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this, this, and this. We're going to put back these 3 cards. Solid 2-drop, solid 3-drop, solid 3-drop, solid. I mean, I'm happy to have all of this stuff at the 3 count area. I'd like to have some more late game or and asking you shall receive. All right, and this is exactly why. It looks like we're playing a little bit of a A little bit of an amber deck. I don't know what else is in it, so we're going to just ink Elsa and pass the turn. I know I could have kept Elsa to shift into the 8 count slot. I just don't see a world where that happens. I want to use my ink, and I also have 4 Elsas in the deck. 4 of the 3 cost Elsas in my deck, so it's a high likelihood that I draw another one. I also really want to get Magic Broom on the field. Okay, so this is an amber and sapphire deck. Interesting. Okay, we're going to ink a hook and play Magic Broom. Ultimately, my goal is going to be get Maleficent in play, sing Friends on the Other Side, and then find a way to get the Queen into play and just have her start adding value for me. That's my plan. They have Maximus, Stitch, and Aurora. Those are the 3 cards I've seen thus far. They're going to just in time a Maleficent. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, well, that changes some things. That Maleficent is going to quest with impunity. It has 6 cost 3. I think I want to ink this Magic Broom. That's not going to help me out very much. They're going to want to do as much questing as they possibly can. Interesting draw. I'm going to try to figure out how I can keep my cards in hand and eventually eliminate that Maleficent so it doesn't quest so often. Just in time, it is an incredible card. 3 cost can be inked, allow you to put a card up to 5 cost in play. Very, very good. Pass the turn. We're going to play on the defensive a little bit here. Now, there is an argument to me swinging with, oh, they have another just in time for a Maximus. Very intriguing coming in. Wow. Okay, this is potentially bad for me, everybody. This is potentially pretty darn bad. So what we're going to do is we're going to sing Friends from the Other Side and try to find a card that might assist us here. Interesting. Okay, we can go up to 4 mana. Actually, what I think we're going to do is we're going to do another Maleficent. Okay, we drew a nice card that might help us sweep here. That's helpful. We're going to go ahead and put Magic Broom into Maximus. I think we ink Captain Hook. At this point, boys and girls, we are playing to try to get these threats off the board and build our board position. They have not gone over 3 ink, so they are behind in ink. Do they have another just in time in play? The answer is no. Interesting that they choose to take out my Maleficent instead. And then they play Eye of the Fates. Okay, so they're going to have Maximus quest for 2 this turn and go up to 5. Huh. Well, I have Beast to break that next turn. I believe my play has been unchanged. They have 2 cards in hand. I need to stop this bleeding as soon as I possibly can. So let's think this through. I'm tempted to Friends on the Other Side, but I don't know if that's, well, actually, I think that is still the play. I think we Friends from the Other Side, sing it with Maleficent, and see what we draw. Okay, we draw another Friends from the Other Side. I think the play here is to put Tiny Tinkerbell into the Inkwell. We're going to get rid of Eye of the Fates with Beast, and then sit pretty next turn to attempt to do a Tinkerbell Giant Fairy and or grab your sword. I'm going to consider what I need to do in terms of the trades at that point, but we have card advantage and ink advantage. We're still on curve. They're only at 5 lore. They have not been questing overtly, and we've taken out Eye of the Fates, which is a pretty big blow because they were going to use that to try to accelerate and sort of outpace me here. 2, you have forgotten me. Letting it go for a Beast, it would seem. Adding up to 6 mana. I'm okay. I'm actually really okay with that. Wow. Okay. Wow. My play here is pretty simple. We're going to put Tinkerbell into play. We're going to take out Maximus, and we ink the Beast. We have 4 of him. I'm okay going up to... I want to stay on curve, and I want to be ahead of the game. Very likely quests for 3 here again. Oh, okay, so they have a Mickey Mouse to ramp. I've not seen a lot... I'm not sure what this deck does other than just in time at this point, so I'm a little bit intrigued by that. Okay. Part of me wants to save my Grab Your Sword, but I also don't think that part of my brain is correct. I believe that the correct play is Grab Your Sword. I think we sing Grab Your Sword here with Tinkerbell. That takes it up to 5. I think we put Tiny Tinkerbell in the Inkwell, and we play Elsa, and we deep freeze these 2. So that way they cannot untap next turn. Now we're forcing them to have another Let It Go, and they've conceded. We got to 8 mana, and they're conceding because it does not look like they have a foreseeable way out. They know that I have Recurrence. That's a very fast game for control. Okay. My plan was to then remove Maleficent from play. Their 2 cards in hand likely didn't give them a lot of outs, and then I was going to start questing very, very quickly. I had another Dr. Facilier Agent Provocateur in hand, and that would have allowed me to swing that lore very, very quickly the opposite direction. Let's queue it up and try again. Okay, we are back at it again. Last game ended in a concession. Let's see what happens this game. Okay, as far as our hand goes, I'm not loving what I'm seeing. I think the only 2 cards that I want to keep are Maleficent, Friends from the Other Side, and Smash. Everything else I want to kind of put away and get 4 new cards. I'm actually even debating whether or not I want to keep Smash, but if I don't see them playing an aggressive deck, then I can very, very easily just ink Smash and we'll be okay to go. Well, we didn't draw into a lot that I liked here. I'm not gonna lie to you folks. We didn't draw into a lot that I liked here. I believe that my first play is going to be to put Beast into the Inkwell. He's 5 cost. He shows that we have steel. He shows that we've got a 5 cost card. I'm curious to see what it is that we're playing against. I have nothing of my 2 drops. I don't have any 1 drops. Early game, this is gonna be tough for us. Okay, so it's Emerald. He has a Mad Hatter for 5. He's playing a steel and emerald deck. Interesting. That is very interesting. Now, that makes me want to keep Smash in my hand. We're going to ink a Tink, and I'm debating on if I want to play Captain Hook or keep Captain Hook in hand. I think I keep Captain Hook in hand for guaranteed ink. I don't think we do anything. Now, this is going to put me behind, and I could come to regret this later, but we're going to find out exactly what's... So he's put a Mad Hatter away, and he's put an Emerald, put a Tinkerbell away. He's going to quest for 1. Okay, great. Great. Now we're going to put Captain Hook into the Inkwell. We are going to play Maleficent, draw a card. Getting a Captain Hook, fantastic. I have 2 friends on the other side in hand and a Smash. Next turn, I can take out Flynn, no problem. That's sort of my goal, is to take Flynn out next turn. We'll see what else they've got going on in their hand. My goal is to try to get card advantage and see if we can't... Oh, they have Beast Mirror. So they're trying to empty out their hand. At 3 cost, we've got Tinkerbell Tiny Tactician, very solid card, questing for 3. He'll be going up to 4. Okay. We are going to sing Friends from the Other Side first and foremost. We draw a Maleficent and another Friends from the Other Side. That is so very many Friends from the Other Side, folks. I'm considering my play here. I believe we're going to ink. First and foremost, we smash Flynn Rider. That is a card that just simply has to go because of its questing ability. I think that the next play for me is to put a Magic Broom's... Oh, Magic Broom is so powerful if we're able to get a Mickey, though. But even still, I don't think it's as important. I think we put Magic Broom away and we play a Captain Hook, because that gives us the ability to challenge other 3-cost characters down the road. For example, if he brings in a Hans, which I imagine he has at the 4-drop slot, if he brings in a Hans here and he swings with Hans, then he's only going to be able to get 1 swing out of Hans. What I'm digging for right now, and I'm going to continue to dig for, is Grab Your Swords. Grab Your Swords is the thing that we must find to help us against this deck, because he's going to have a lot of lower cost cards. I imagine we're going to get an Emperor Cusco here soon, and we found a Grab Your Swords. Fantastic. Okay. I still think the play is Maleficent, draw a card, see what we get. We get a Smash. We keep the Smash in hand. I think we ink, as much as I hate it, I think we ink Friends on the Other Side. We just, I mean, that's painful, but we have to stay on curve and stay ahead. And we hold back. He's going to quest for 4 next turn and go to 9. Me challenging this Tinkerbell doesn't do much for me. We pass the turn. I'm forcing my opponent at this point to be aggressive. I'm trying to maintain the integrity of my ink curve, returning a 3-cost character to my hand. It's Captain Hook. Oh, he knows about the trade and does not want it to happen. That's totally fair. I get it. I still think my decision is pretty easy here. I think we smash Hans. With our Maleficent, we sing Friends from the Other Side. We place a Captain Hook into our ink, and we play an Elsa. The rationale for playing an Elsa here is we are going to be able to shift in our Elsa next turn if he or she does not have anything to deal with my Elsa at this cost. While I could do that, I mean, goodness gracious, I could also play an Ursula next turn, depending on what comes out. And with Cusco, that's very, very intriguing. I don't know necessarily what the follow-up is, but I'm curious as to the play. Everything in me, my friends, everything in me knows that we need to deal with this Cusco. You can quest for 3. I wonder if he has a Mother Knows Best. That is very annoying. You know what I think we do? I think we see, we're going to ink a Captain Hook. I want to play this Ursula and draw a card. We're going to get a Queen. It goes down to 8. I don't want to quest into Tinkerbell necessarily. Actually, you know what? I think I do. I think I want to trade out this Tinkerbell, because next turn I can play Elsa regardless. If he wants to trade, that's fine by me. But I think this is a favorable trade still. This Elsa stays alive and we're good to go. And I'm sorry about this visual glitch of the smash remaining on the left side of the screen. This is intriguing. Now I have more cards. Cusco is let's be clear, folks. Cusco is a problem. I think I'm equipped to deal with Cusco because I know that my opponent has to attack and has to quest with, this person played, I believe it was a friend's, okay, cool. I still can't get rid of that smash, which is not ideal. Okay, now here's where I begin to think. I hate having to do it this way, but we sing Grab Your Swords for 5 ink right off the bat. We challenge with Ursula. He's going to banish my Ursula. That's okay. That's just Emperor Kuzco's ability. Then we're going to play Ursula's Cauldron. We're going to see what's coming next. The top of the deck is a Tinkerbell or a Friends from the Other Side. I want Friends from the Other Side. I'm going to keep all of these cards in my hand. Actually, no, that's not true. I'm going to ink a Smash so that we remain on curve. And that next turn, if I want to play an Elsa, I absolutely can play an Elsa off rip and exert whatever characters come into play. Oh, but he goes ahead and he does a whole new world. That's intriguing. Now I've drawn 7 cards. He doesn't know if my cards are going to be better or worse. Goes up to 2, plays a Flynn Rider. Okay, well now this is very intriguing. We're going to put this Elsa at the top of the deck. We're going to play Jafar because Jafar is a very big challenger right now. It's got 7 attack and 5 defense. Then I believe the play is to ink my Captain Hook and play the Queen. That seems to be the play to me. I wonder what he might have drawn into. I'm very intrigued by it, but we passed the turn here. They're very much still ahead, but thankfully I have removal in my hand and Friends from the Other Side. I know that both of these cards are very resilient. If I have to discard a card, the card I'm discarding is Ursula's Cauldron. If I challenge Flynn, I certainly don't need another Ursula's Cauldron in play. I'm going to put Smash onto Jafar. I wonder what cards they're going to use to get rid of Jafar here. Very likely that they end up having to use... Oh... He's exerting with Beast and he's going to rush into it as well. Wow, this individual had to use 2 cards to get rid of my 1. I view that as very high value. Okay, now here is where I believe the fun begins. I'm going to go ahead and challenge here. I don't need this other Ursula's Cauldron, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. This is just a good trade. I don't want to use the Queen to draw a card. I know that character cannot sit out and play for very long. We take Tinkerbell at the top of the deck and then ship Dr. Facilier to the bottom. I've got 9 mana in play. I don't believe that they are going to draw any items. So I don't know if I want to ink the Beast or keep it in play. I believe keeping the Beast in play is probably best. I think what I want to do is I want to ink the Magic Broom. I'm going to go ahead and pay to draw 2 cards with Friends from the Other Side. And then we play Ursula and draw a card. Getting back a Beast, they lose the lore. And now they have an Ursula in play that they have to deal with. It's a very big wall. That is a problem for them. Oh, they have Beast Mirror. That's correct. Now, this person could have another whole new world. If that's the case, boy, is that annoying. And do I need desperately... Oh, they're going to bounce a card. They're bouncing Ursula back. Interesting. And now they also have Evasive. They're going to play Mother Goes Best to return this to my hand. Very intriguing. Okay. My play here remains the same. We are going to, we first use Ursula's Cauldron because order of operations is important. We keep Grab Your Sword at the top of the deck, and then we deep freeze the Genie. We put a Beast into the Inkwell to go up to 11 ink, and now I've got plenty of items in play. Ultimately, I just need to get rid of this Genie, and I can do that through two Grab Your Swords. Okay? Now they're playing a bunch of cards. This is when I think this is going to be potentially pretty devastating for them. I'm going to see what's next. I'm going to put this Magic Broom at the top of my deck. I'm just going to sing Grab Your Swords twice, like so. Getting rid of all of their cards. I had to pay 10 mana to clear that board. That doesn't feel great to me. We quest for 3, and then I think I sit pretty with the cards in my hand. I don't think I'm actually going to ink any of these cards. I want all of them. And then they concede. Because of the amount of removal that we had, this person couldn't do anything else, and we go to a 2-0 victory for the demonstration. Interesting deck. I think it could have gotten out of hand if we didn't draw the removal that we needed, but that is the power of Friends from the Other Side. Well, that brings us to an end of the playtest for Amethyst and Steel. I think that is a very powerful deck, and I think any sort of control deck like that is a powerful combination. You're also seeing me pilot decks that I'm most comfortable with. I love control style decks. I think my preference is still Amethyst and Ruby, but Amethyst and Steel as a combination is pretty darn good. I think the ability to counter a lot of decks that go wide early with removal and target removal while also putting pretty powerful characters in place, like Jafar's, for example. I think that game in particular has sold me a little bit more on Jafar's power. I think it's a good option. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, though, so go ahead and let me know what your thoughts on that deck are in the comments down below. As always, I will have my Lorcana deck profile linked in the description of this video. If there are any misplays that you saw or anything that you thought I could have done differently, I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments. Remember, we're all trying to learn to play this game better together. But until next time, folks, I'm Alan. Be sure to like this video, subscribe if you are new, and just know how much I appreciate you for coming and hanging out with me here with this Lorcana content. I love this game. I spend so much time thinking about it and planning and thinking about what decks I'm going to show you. I've got a couple that I'm really excited about, and this one very much surprised me, so I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye now.